So I'm here with Siobhan, who is a local, well, I suppose professional author now. There's that little weird noise of air. That'll get picked up by the mics. Who's a professional author who has just had a book commissioned by a publishing company.
Yes.
Which is probably the jumping off point for this conversation, because obviously this is actually the second time we've done this interview. We did it before and it went really, really well, and the content we did, it was amazing.
Oh, yeah, such great content.
It was
that
so
no one
good
will ever see.
that no one will ever see, because the video unfortunately was corrupted. So we're back again, and we're going to try not to miss anything. So yeah, Hooks and Heroes.
Yes.
Which I'm going to start straight in there with the title of the book. What is it?
It is a collection of patterns. They will be of each, inspired by, D&D classes. So there's 12 of those, and then a Dungeon Master pattern, which is kind of like a very basic one that you can kind of mix and match, make your own Dungeon Master, or just have it as this kind of grey face thing. But yeah, they're all very cool characters. They all have their stats and everything. They've all got very distinct characteristics. That's basically it.
So you say patterns. Patterns of what?
Sorry, crochet patterns.
No, I think that's because
crochet patterns.
And this is one of the things that's probably going to happen throughout this interview. Is I'm going to ask questions, and we're going to forget that we've done this before, and then have to pull bits out. So they are crochet patterns. It's a book of crochet monsters, D&D inspired, that you've created the patterns for, and now it's going out into this book, Hooks and Heroes, and like I say, with stat blocks and everything like that, that then people at home can go, oh, I want to make, and I don't know what's in there at the moment. It could be like a goblin rogue or something. I look forward to it if there is a goblin. I love goblins. So where did this all begin then? Where did, was it a hobby first? Was it something you always wanted to be an author? How did this come about? Because obviously the whole point of this series is to talk about local Cornish creators and stuff like that, or people who are living in Cornwall, not just Cornish people. But obviously you can't just have been one day you were and I've got a book deal.
Yeah.
So how did that come about from what I assume must have been a hobby to now you are a professional author?
It was funny because I've always wanted to write a book, and obviously this isn't a traditional book, but it is something that has always been a thing that I've wanted to do, but I didn't think it was going to be crochet. I guess go back, how many years ago was 2019?
Oh, well, for 2004 now, so it's going to be 5 years ago.
Yeah. So I started crocheting then, and it was one of those things that kind of, I've always wanted to learn how to do it, but it was always very difficult to do. But it was one of those things that I just persevered with the help of Dave, my partner, who learnt to crochet first, and then taught me how to do it, because I can't learn very well off a screen or just kind of
following an instruction manual.
I'm not, that's not how I do things. I need someone literally sat next to me telling me how to do something and showing me really slowly. He learnt how to do a magic ring, which is the start, I guess, the blueprint for amigurumi, which is the kind of crochet that I do. From that point on, I just became hooked. Pun not intended.
That could be the author tagline. I became hooked.
I became hooked. And it was one of those things I just kept creating kind of characters. I was mainly creating characters from stuff that I'd watched, new films, games that I was playing, and kind of eventually kind of snowballed into what we have now. Kind of accidentally tumbled into the TTRPG world, which was really fun. That's kind of how it happened, really. I basically started selling patterns. Someone typed onto Etsy D&D crochet patterns, and they were like, yeah, cool, that looks good.
So you say it like that, and obviously that's quite a downplay on what is kind of happening. And I say that in a sense that I'm gonna pull out this part of the story from you, because I think it's important for people who maybe are getting into crochet or getting into publishing a book or anything like that, is that you were approached by the publishing company. So you say that you had these patterns and they were on Etsy, then somebody came along and was like, oh, yeah, that's cool, I want that. But actually, so you were creating, yeah, and at the time I remember like when we spoke last time, you said about things like Marvel characters and stuff like that,
yes.
and there was other people's IP involved, and then eventually somebody else's shop got taken down. You're like, okay, I'm not going to do crochet hobby things of that and sell them, but I'm going to start doing other things. And this amigurumi, amigurumi, I will one day get that right. Style of like creating these cartoon-like characters, which you've actually got some there with, which I will show you guys in a bit. You start doing D&D characters and like which I think is completely awesome that like so many of us have like either character art or painting minis and stuff like that, and your art form for like displaying your character, your creations was through crochet and creating plushies essentially of those characters. You then start selling those on Etsy, and for anybody who is maybe looking to sell stuff, and Etsy is a great platform because it is a search engine. Which means that somebody can then just type in, like for me, dice, and I'm not on Etsy anymore. Like, actually, to be honest, I wasn't on it in the first place. I went straight to having my own website. But it does take away from that entire Etsy group of people who are just searching for custom dice. Where for you, it's obviously these D&D characters and like crochet things. And actually, Etsy is a great place to start because it is a search engine. And because of that, a publishing company quite literally were like, D&D crochet found you out of the multitude of people that are on there, and you strike gold because
it's funny because the one that they found was the Selkie pattern that has nothing to do with. I mean, obviously you can have Selkie. I mean, if you want to have Selkies in D&D, whatever. But like it wasn't really anything to do with the tabletop gaming at all. So she just liked the. I think I came up because of like the Dice Goblin and the Dice Dragon and stuff. That's why I kind of crept into that search engine bit of it. But I think she just liked the style of that, which
is your own pattern.
Yeah.
And I suppose that is probably because you were creating your own stuff, then you had all this other stuff inspired, and they're like, okay, well, she can obviously create patterns, therefore we'll go. And I think for anybody who might be watching that is looking to get into becoming an author, looking to sell patterns, stuff like that, I think that, Etsy is a great place to start, but then also social media. Because although we've seen like a change in algorithms and people going from like Twitter to X, then X to Blue Sky Social, and the minefield that as we currently sit in 2024 is social media, it's like pulling teeth at the moment for me, and I'm so disheartened by it all the time. But obviously you ended up with a really nice following and a nice group of people who would like, wanting to buy your patterns, and that obviously helps the SEO pick you up on the search engines, which I think is amazing. But I guess for people who haven't seen it, should we have a look at the things that you have been creating?
Yes, I'll do this one last because that one's fun. Well, not
are any of these in the book?
No.
Okay.
No, because nothing that is like that I've been selling before has been in the book, because all the characters in the book won't be like mine.
Yeah.
So I won't be able to do anything with them because they're like owned by the publication company.
So although you create the pattern and you're the author, the publishers are the IP owners of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've come up with all the like character designs and stuff. So how they look is come from my head, and all their like because I did really extensive backstories to them as well. So all that is mine, and I can't use it, but I can obviously my name is to it. So,
but I suppose the side of that is if you're someone going, I've got this book here, go make all of this, but also I'm selling it so you don't have to. Exactly. Nobody's going to go buy the book, which is probably why a publishing company does that. So let's have a look at what it is that amigurumi is. So
this fella.
Oh, look at it, so cool.
So this is the Dice Goblin. I do want to like redesign the chest. I don't know how yet. I haven't really thought about it, but yeah, you can put your little dice in here. But
so it is quite literally a dice bag as well as a plushie character.
Yeah, so I do have the pattern for the. See, it's really fiddly this one. I want to fix it. But yeah, so you can make a dice bag with it, so it's easier. But it's
feel like a magnet clasp.
Yeah, that is a good idea. It would have to be one of those things I'd tell people not to make for kids though, because
swallowing magnets.
Yeah.
So no kids.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, like so the dice go in there. I do want to figure it out, make it like maybe put some cardboard in it to make it stiffer, because it is a bit of a pain to like do. But
it's still awesome though.
It's
I mean, like
cute though.
and that's the kind of point. Is like that little mismatched socks on the feet, and the fact that
was actually because I ran out of yarn.
But it's very goblin, and I think that like for something that is 6 inches tall at least, and like it's such a tight. Is it a weave, a knit?
I don't know what I'd call it. Let's say weave.
But it's and like the fact that there is this full area that you can put dice into, and the fact that is so very very awesomely cute, and I love that a lot.
Yeah, the pattern has like the dice bag that you can kind of choose to do as well if you don't want it. Because I will say I did do put commissions up of these, and I got sick of making the chests because fiddly things.
So,
but I love the look of it. But yeah, if you don't want the complicatedness of it, you can make the bag instead. So.
See, that's very awesome. And so, is there something like this in that book that's got maybe like a dice holding compartment? Or is it just the characters?
No, it's just so they're just like figures basically.
Yeah.
Like,
so I mean, book 2.
Maybe.
Book 2, you could have like the GM and also the dice companions.
They do have little satchels, like some of them do, so you could put like maybe a D20 in or something.
Still, and that's a fully openable satchel, like something that you can.
Yeah, like a little, like tiny little, like.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
See, I just wanted to like put like chocolate in there and stuff like that.
I mean, you know what? These don't even have to be for dice. They can be for anything.
They could be.
Trinkets.
It's very, very cool. So what else have we got? Like what else?
This is the dice Dragon, which I love. This one. It's probably my favourite. I do like the goblin, but this is a lot easier to open, obviously, as you can see. She says as it gets tangled. But yeah, nice little pouch. This can hold a lot more as well. So this is like my main. This is the one that I use all the time for playing and DMing. But yeah, this is my little sleepy dragon.
But it's very, very cool. And again, I'm going to just show so hopefully that people can see it on the video. No, you're absolutely fine. Because again, like to show people how much is in there. I mean, there is a full set and more in there.
You can. You can probably fit 4, but it depends on because people ask me this a lot. It depends on your tension when you're crocheting. Tension can make it tighter, so then it won't fit as many in. Which
is what we had with that. Well, so I'm trying to pick up like the. So it's thrown everywhere. Like this whole thing, you can feel how close together that is, and like it's really sturdy as well. It's obviously not like rock hard, but it's enough that it stands up. But like, I mean, there's at least 3 sets into that one dice bag, which a lot of us don't have that many sets, especially if you're just starting out or like you are learning to play and stuff like that. You start off with a character sheet and 1 set of dice. Exactly. It's so perfect, and I'm assuming you could like change the size of that to be as big as you wanted. So
pretty
like
much,
once you get to dice collections, like I'm assuming we've all got now at this point, especially me who's like making dice. It got to the point where I was like, I don't want to buy them, I'll make them. And so,
I do want to make ones that kind of have like compartments and stuff, but that's a whole other thing.
It is a whole other thing, and
figure out.
But it's like putting the divides in there and stuff, or like putting in sections with one in the middle. Like that's something that I've seen my wife do with sewing when she's been baking really and stuff like that. So. Obviously, you started making these, and was it because you were doing obviously like the character stuff that you were doing before, which you were then like, oh, actually no, I don't want to do anything with somebody else's IPs. Then you started making stuff. I assume for yourself, and then
I kind of because I'd had a couple of patterns on there that were like kind of I've got one here that's adjusted that isn't out yet, so I'll show that in a second. But so it was the bear, Chuck the bear, and Ava the Highland cow. And we spoke about this before, but it was about the whole kind of, they were very much like, a lot of people were interested in them who had like kids and stuff like that, and that's just not the kind of demographic I want to go for, which, again, no offence to anyone who likes that kind of stuff, it's just, for me personally, I want to do stuff that's within my interests, and as someone who doesn't have kids and doesn't want to have kids, I don't really want, that's not where I want to be pinned into. I want to be pinned into something that I really love, which is like nerdy stuff. And
I think that's great. And you said like we spoke about it before, but actually for people who might be listening at home, we spoke about like these patterns that you had, like Chuck the Bear, which is bear character, that people were like, storybooks and plushies for kids, that's kind of where that came from. And with that, you were like, well, you could, but I don't want to. And I think that was really, really awesome that you decided to stick to your guns on. You were like, no, actually, I'm doing this for the nerd side of things, but I don't want to be that children's author. I don't want to be that like book publisher that's then like bringing out a kid's book, even though it could probably make me a lot of money. It's not my thing. And I think that's absolutely great that that's where you went. So obviously, we're going to show that one off in a little bit. Like, obviously you said it's an amalgamation. I assume that's something that's going to be coming up for you in the near future.
Yeah, hopefully soon. I literally have revealed their heads so far. That's it.
Amazing. So we'll talk about that when we talk about like things to come for you and your channels and everything like that at the end. But obviously, we said social media is like a big part of like you were trying to like establish essentially this brand of yourself to then put yourself out there and then eventually end up with this book deal, which is very, very awesome. Where currently can people find you on social media?
I've only got Instagram and TikTok at the moment. Again, Facebook, I have it, but I don't use it.
No,
I don't like using it. And again, that kind of a lot of people kind of are looking for the kind of more kids stuff there. I'm like, no. Again, it's just one of those things. It's not the demographic that I'm looking to kind of reach. But I don't have like threads for or my crochet or anything like Twitter or anything like that, because it's just another thing to think about. And being a very visual medium, it's, you know, those two are fine. But I am currently the Cornish Selkie, but I am going to change it probably like within the next week or so, I think now.
Amazing. So you're going from the Cornish Selkie to the Selkie Grotto?
It is, yes.
Yes.
Selkie Grotto.
I remember that from so just Selkie Grotto.
The Selkie. So I think, the Selkie Grotto. Yeah, I think so.
Because we spoke about this during the last time that we did this, but actually, again, now we have to kind of go over it again and talk about it, because, again, you know, tech issues happen even in such high-tech studios like this, where, you know, I'm relying on an ancient computer. Obviously, the change of it from being your own personal social media and it being like named after you to then making it more about a kind of brand name.
Yeah.
Why that jump?
I think for me, it's just I don't know. It's an important distinction. It's just in terms of vibe, really. I don't know. There's just something about kind of having me being the Cornish Selkie. It just never, like, I think as soon as people started to kind of refer to me as that, I was like, this just doesn't feel right. I don't know what it was about it. I don't know, it just didn't feel right. And I made that name kind of way back when I didn't even think this was going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of wanted it to be a thing, but it wasn't like serious. Like, obviously I was still like working.
It's kind of like that pipe dream where you don't really think it through and you go, well, I'm going to do this. And
this is like my little, you know, hobby Instagram kind of thing. So yeah, I hadn't really probably thought about it. And also I'm, first of all, not Cornish. And I might not even be living in Cornwall forever. So that's just, it felt very restricted in lots of different ways, like just in terms of the actual name, and then also just, being kind of centered as an individual just doesn't feel right. And I wanted it to be a bit more, a bit more whimsical sounding, and a bit more like it could just be like, you know, welcome to the Selkie Grotto, like, you know, today in the Selkie Grotto we've been making this.
And you're sure you're not doing a kids show?
No, I'm not.
I mean, I'm not saying that would be a great start to that.
Oh, it would though, wouldn't it?
It would be like, hey guys, welcome to the Selkie Grotto.
Oh God, no, it'll be more gentle. Welcome to the Selkie Grotto.
Some ASMR style, like just a mic up there.
Yeah, but I just want it to sound more like magical, whimsical, just more of a collective rather than a
individual.
It's just me.
And I think
Here
that's something that I can relate to, and it's something that we had with Dragonborn Industries. Obviously, like, I have my personal social media account, which is the Dragonborn Bard. That's, you know, the name that there's a reason behind that name, and it is a personal reason behind that name, while also fitting within my TTRPG nerdiness. Whereas then it was like we came to like knowing that we were going to stream, and then people had been, I've been making dice on there, and people were like, are you selling them? And I was like, not yet. I was just making them for me and my friends. But if you want them, I guess I'll. And I never wanted it to be me. I never wanted it to be like a. You know, it's one thing turning us into the brand, but it's also your personal, you know, face. So it was like, you know, Dragonborn Industries was born of that, and that's what the platform that we now run is all about. But yeah, I get that wanting to change to make sure that it's kind of like a bit more all-encompassing rather than
more
just
professional as well. I think like more like I feel like I'm kind of. It's almost like I'm definitely obviously taking what I'm doing more seriously now, but the name just didn't feel like it reflected that for me personally. So that's pretty much.
No, and
really.
Obviously you said you're going to be changing that up to the Selkie Grotto in the sort of like next week as of this recording, which I think today is the 23rd of October. So by then, it could have already happened by the time this video comes out. So I don't know if this is going to release tomorrow or in a week. I still need to finish the interviews and sort out the scheduling. But what's the Selkie Grotto? What the future of the Selkie Grotto? What's in store? What's coming up for you that we could probably talk about?
It's one of those things. I've got so many things that I want to do. I'm trying to like think of them all in a cohesive list. But this is probably the first thing I've done. So we spoke about Chuck the Bear, who was my first kind of like own character pattern that again Dave designed for me. He's very cute. So he's kind of got like a very special place in my heart. So I wanted to kind of not reskin him, but that sounded really bad.
Just play him and then reskin him with somebody else's.
Lord, no.
Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those people?
No, I just wanted to kind of make it more kind of fitting with what I'm doing now. So I've kind of made some add-ons for him, and this is the first one. So this is... Wait, I've had to pin his hat down. He's Chuck the the Bard.
Oh, I
so
love it.
So I've done...
Look at the loot.
I know, it's so cute. So it can go on his back as well, but I'm not going to mess around with that at the moment. But yeah, so I've done Bard, I've done a Sorcerer and a Barbarian.
All of the same chuck, but you're going to do...
So it's all the same pattern, yeah. Funnily enough, it's mad. Making this is the exact same pattern as the original chuck, but because obviously I've improved in the past 2 years, he's like shrunk by about, I think the original
Not some massive holes and like falling apart.
Like the original one's like here, and he's just shrunk down to this little chunky boy. But yeah, so I'm going to be releasing it. It's kind of like an add-on to Chuck the Bear, and I'm also going to be just revamping. Again, nothing really in the pattern has changed for Chuck. It's just
you could do revamp and make him a vampire.
Oh my god, that would have been so good for Halloween. Next year. But yeah, so it's just kind of
the collar, straw, widow's peak.
That'd be so cute. That would be so cute. I'm gonna put that in the bank. But yeah, he doesn't stand up very well. But there he is.
That's all right. We can use a mug. There's a mug right there. So obviously,
is that in?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely fine. So Chuck the Bear was like this first thing, but I love the idea that you are going, okay, well, let's take the Selkie Grotto, let's take something that people know me for, and then let's start going across those, essentially, D&D classes, which, again, quite generic across the board, so screw you, Wizards, if you're going after the IP. You can't IP Bard, mate!
No.
It's my name! They're not made up by you. You know, and I watched Hasbro come down on me hard for that. But it's like, yeah, I love the idea that you are creating those like classes so that people can have something, you know, relatable, but also that is from you and what was the Cornish Selkie to now the Selkie Grotto, and that continuation of, you know, pulling over from the transference of things like social media and stuff, and especially as the book comes out, that you're going to be like, okay, well, you know, it's released under your name, which, you know, is you on the author, but I'm assuming, is there going to be like a blurb in there that points people in the direction of, you know, the Selkie Grotto or anything?
Yes, there should be. I do need to actually get onto them and be like, by the way, I'm changing my name, sorry. It won't be that much of a problem.
Well, luckily they've only just, I think, got the draft from you, so it should be... get in there before it gets to...
yeah, about
production.
2 weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago it was. So yeah, I do need to... Because it was literally a decision that I made last week. So, and I've literally been drafting up kind of logo changes today as well, so it's just one of those things.
It's hard work, isn't it?
Yeah. It's one of those things I want done. I kind of thought about the name change. I was like, I want this done yesterday because I'm that kind of person. I want to change it now.
But I'm very, very, very similar in that sense. And actually, for anybody out there that is looking to go, it's weird to be, it's called self-employed, but also creative arts self-employed, which is not really self-employed because you don't earn anything. It's, you know, it's a very strange world to be in. But things like branding is so important because... so again, back to like my only references that like, you know, I still work with the Dragonborn Bard kind of titles and stuff like that, and that's my kind of like, not necessarily pseudonym, but that's kind of like my stage name kind of thing, while also being my personal accounts. So it came to like Dragonborn Industries, and I was like, how logo? What fits? And like, and you have to like, it's really hard. You have to look into like how like the mechanics of logos work, and how like you're supposed to be able to like squint your eyes, and like should be able to just make it out and recognize it from a distance and stuff, which. Yeah, I mean, like, I actually haven't seen your logo. Is that something you'd be willing to chat about, like, what the design is?
I think you seem like you've done a lot more research into graphic design and logo making than I ever did. I was like, this looks nice, cool. Because I had one before that I literally just made in Canva, which was fine. But it was just, again, I kind of made it because I just needed to do it quickly. And it just wasn't, again, it was nice, I like it, but it was never quite right. But this one is kind of again, I did draft it in Canva, but went into Procreate and messed around with it, and again Dave helped me with that because he's better at that than I am.
I have a wife who has to teach me things.
Do it for me please. I can't do it. And yeah, we've kind of got a bit of a quite nice like kind of mountain situation going, and kind of the entrance to it is kind of almost, it's like a D20 but like kind of half of one-ish.
That's very cool.
Because I didn't want it to be I didn't want it to look like I make dice, because I don't do that. I don't want to be misleading people, but also kind of like tying in a little bit, you know.
But it's very TTRPG related
exactly.
logo. The D20 is so synonymous of, and I think that's the right word, of tabletop. I mean, we take big companies like Critical Role, who literally have a sword going through a D20 with its outlines. You take things like High Rollers, who again have that behind the HR and it's embossed in. You know, there is so many. You know, you can't copyright a shape, and so it's one of those things where actually, you know, that D20 is so freely used within the TTRPG space that I think actually it's such a beneficial thing, because you see it and you go, oh, it's got to be TTRPG inspired, therefore I'm going to go check it out if I'm into those things. And yeah, I think that we use it. I mean, we literally use a hexagon around our logo, and you can't see it on this one because I'm wearing like some beat up old Dragonborn hoodie. Like, I don't even know if it'll pick it up, but like, again, like we use it. It's one of those things where like we have our Dragonborn head inside a hexagonal, hexagonal, because you look at it and you go, TTRPG.
Yeah, but I kind of wanted mine to be a bit kind of
subtle.
Yeah, just in the way, because again, I think we did a few, and I was like, well, that just looks like I sell dice, which I don't do.
I love the definitive. I don't do that.
I can't. But I can't do it. But yeah, it's just one of those things of creating a logo that kind of shows what you're doing, but also not too explicitly. But then also, because I really wanted to have that element in it, because it was really important to me to have that. But yeah, I just didn't want to mislead anyone into what I'm doing. And also, you know, there might come a day where I don't do, you know, TTRPG stuff. I don't think that'll be the case. But yeah, exactly. And then things can change. But at the end of the day, having it quite subtle, I think, is a benefit for that, really.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, but no, I'm really happy where we're at with it at the moment. So yeah, doing a bit of a kind of change of what my pattern kind of layout looks like ish as well. Like, well, shit, literally just changing the fonts, fonts and colours. But
Google fonts, can't go wrong. Yeah. They're, again, our font is a Google font. It's
mine was from Canva, so
yeah, but
they're really nice.
But I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, tools of the trade for stuff like that is something that I've learned along the way. You've mentioned Procreate, you've mentioned Canva, and obviously these are graphic design programs where I've had to learn to use both of those. I mean, we do our emotes on Canva. I use Procreate. I think I literally have Procreate Pocket on.
Nice.
My phone. Yeah, it's like cool. I think it costs like $2.99, and you can have a family account, which free fucking plug Procreate, which means that like if you do end up having kids one day, or if it's you and your partner Dave, and you're like, oh, actually, let's share, you know, that Pocket thing, you can then like go from like an iPad and like drop it down onto your phone and stuff. Nice. It's actually really good. So like tools of the trade wise, when we look at software, so you've mentioned those two programs. Do you have a program that you use for your patterns? Canva as well. Yeah. So I didn't know that.
It's so easy to use. It's so simple. I don't have to like download InDesign and deal with that. Which I know if you know what you're doing, it's fine. But Canva just.
So what was the program you said that you don't have? So InDesign.
InDesign, yeah, I don't. Yeah.
And that's like an actual crochet patterning program.
No, it's just the Adobe graphic design thing.
So it costs a fortune and nobody knows how to use it. Yes. Yeah, that's my problem with Adobe stuff.
Yeah.
Again, free plug there, Adobe. Come get me. But it is. It's one of those things where if you can use that same tool for multiple jobs,
it's just so it's so easy.
It's exactly what I use Procreate for. Like we did some of the designs for our T-shirts on Procreate. It was
Procreate's great. Yeah.
Yeah, like so I think our mimic design, that was me on Procreate, and that's like the first thing I ever did art-wise. That I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna try and do, and it took me longer than it should have done. Yeah. Because it's all about learning. Yeah. But I suppose that, like now that you've had. Obviously, your partner's gone and learnt it and then taught you it, and that's your method of learning. And I'm very similar. Like Yaz had to show me how to use Procreate. It's like, oh, you know, these are your brushes that you guys like lock your layers and stuff. But for anybody out there are so many YouTube tutorials. It's insane how many there are. And are there any
on YouTube?
Are there any other programs or like tools of the trade that you would say were important to this process?
I mean, shout out to Adobe Lightroom. Great.
So I take it all back, Adobe. And that's the Photoshop one, isn't it? Where
but it's like again simpler than Photoshop. You don't need to.
And what do you use that for?
Just the so all of the kind of process photos that I take for the patterns, I'll whack into there and edit them there, and also all the photos that I take for social media and stuff.
Which actually takes me back to social media and back to something else that I actually think is really, really important for anybody like you and I who do a craft, something artisanal. Learning to take a photograph.
Oh yeah.
It's a strange thing that you think, oh, I'll just take a photo and stick it up, but you'll be amazed at like learning to do just a little bit of editing on that photo, and you don't need to like go into like filters or like color saturation. It's just like how to take a good photo, like perspective or focus, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, because I had ages and ages and ages where I was like, cool, these dice look amazing. I'd put them like I'd make them look pretty, and then I'd take a photo and I'm like, these look like shit. I was like, I'd put them on social media and I'm like, that they don't look as good. No. So like what was the process there for you? Because mine was like somebody, like James, one of my cast members, was like, dude, what are you doing? And he like knows photography, and he was like, dude, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm an idiot. But what was the process for you?
Well, I have kind of been interested in photography since I was like 15. I got my first DSLR, then, so that was 15 years ago. 16 years ago. And yeah, I've always been interested in it. I've never really been taught how to use a camera. It was kind of just I got it and was just messing around with it. But I used to do a lot of just, when we'd go on holiday places, just take pictures of landscapes and just things.
But I mean, even then, even like taking a picture of a landscape compared to taking a picture of an item is such different photography.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Because I think, to be fair though, I do prefer like kind of, I guess, subject matter photography. I don't know if that's the right term.
It could be.
I don't know.
I'm an idiot.
Like,
I don't know. I just
like
do
a
things.
I like a close-up kind of composition. I don't really like doing landscapes, but it's a different kettle of fish kind of trying to figure out a studio in your house where the light is difficult to... Well, I've got a great living room, but where the light is, it's a whole thing. But I think,
like lighting was the big thing for me. Like 3-point lighting was such a strange... Because I was like, oh, well, I take pictures in here, and like, for example, like I've got that light off at the moment.
Yeah.
So if I have it on, like the cameras are just like, no, you guys are all going to get jaundice, you're all going to look horrible. So like I have to have like part of a window open, then I have the 2 lights up there, and then sometimes I have like the big studio lights on and stuff like that, and it's like, it's so weird to think that you need 3 points of light to then create essentially a HD image which looks really, really good. And even then I still don't understand it. And you are right, it's, when you're sat in your living room and this is the space that you both work in, create in, and then are having to like market yourself in, it's, again, it can be really, really, really demoralizing to be like, create something incredible like this, which is so, I mean, like, you're so cute. Like, I love the ears. She reminds me of my dog. Oh. Like, the floppy ears on my Labrador. And then to be like, oh my god, click, oh.
All the time. Like, it's but also one of those things where I can, because I got a new camera and I was like, right, I need to kind of get pictures of all of the new, like all the things that I've made, and then spending 10 minutes trying to get the set up right, the lighting right, and then you take a picture on your phone and the lighting is so much better.
And actually,
infuriating.
I recently upgraded my phone, and I'll plug Apple all day long because I am a sucker for Apple products. But like the recent phone, like I went to the 15 Pro, and I was just like, okay, the camera's really good. Like for products and stuff, the camera's very, very good. Yeah. Which I imagine, like when you've got a DSLR and you've spent so much on a DSLR, and then you go and take a picture with a phone, you're like,
But to be fair, I mean, I've been taking these out on little day trips to Kennel Vale, we call it the Gunpowder Woods. And phone can't take the photos that I've been taking there. No. So, it was a good investment.
Yeah, and I think that's because that's something that I would like to invest in for here at the channel. Like, I really want to get mirrorless DSLRs, simply because obviously the glare off things like these maps for me. Like I can use the mirrorless DSLRs as cameras, which would be great if I can get like tripods set up and I don't have to have them on the tables, and I can then use the webcams for. It doesn't matter. This is about you, not me. But equipment like that is such a good investment. You are completely right, and it's amazing how much. For me personally, a good picture can sell a product.
Absolutely, yeah.
Compared to just being like, oh, well, I've got this amazing product, and then a shit picture lets it down, which is, we've all been there. It's, you think that something's amazing, and you're like, why is nothing selling? And it's, so I think to anybody out there, that's probably one of the takeaways definitely from this interview is like, if you do end up taking pictures, it might be worth investing in a better camera. Yeah. I guess we are looking towards what you think with this hobby, because obviously people are probably like people who are here watching are probably already into crochet and stuff, but maybe some people are like, oh my god, that's something I've always wanted to get into, and like yourself, wanted to get into it and never knew really how, and where would you suggest for them to start?
I think we mentioned YouTube is a great place to start.
Yeah.
There is a channel called Bella Coco who does really good tutorials.
And I will link that.
Yeah, she's great. Like, she's very well known in especially the UK crochet community. She's great. Really just clear and concise instructions. Honestly, the way I just kind of did it was just find a pattern that you like. There have been times where I have struggled through a pattern because it's probably more of a advanced than I was at the time. But I also I really try and make mine as kind of accessible as possible. So I do say that they are intermediate / adventurous beginners is how I like to put it. So I mean, I wouldn't say beginner. Don't pick that pattern up and be like, right, this is the first thing I'm crocheting. But maybe like, just pick up a pattern that you want, do it if you can.
Yeah.
Look at YouTube videos along the way.
Do it if you can. That's where to start.
Pick up a pattern and do it. No.
Give it a go, I think, is what we're trying to say. So
what I do is, like, if I come across because even now I come across a stitch or a technique in a pattern and I'm like, oh God, I don't know what that means, so I go to YouTube.
Yeah.
And
I do the exact same thing with
just
dice.
for every stitch, every kind of, because I mean, this bag is made of like half triple crochet, and then you can literally go on YouTube. It's like, how do I do a half triple crochet? And they'll tell you.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And obviously, you said you started with this thing called the ring. The magic ring.
Or the magic circle, depending on how you want to.
So the magic ring or the magic circle, what is that?
It is. You see that really tight little circle there?
Okay, I don't know if this will show up.
No, but it's
essentially like the crown
start.
of the. And actually, that might pick it up just there. It's like the tiny little circle. At the
but it's
top
pretty
of
much not all crochet things, but a lot. If you're crocheting in the round, you'll start with a magic ring. You don't have to. There are other techniques you can use, but I prefer to use that. And that basically just builds this thing here. And even the ears start with that. The feet start with that. This horn starts with that. The bag does.
So I assume that they all start like as individual pieces that you then crochet together. So like the ears are done separately to the actual main dragon. So for example, like you might be able to see it. Actually, that's too light. You're probably not going to see it under the lighting in here. But again, it's the tip of the nose that you use there, and then probably the tips of the feet.
Yeah.
So actually, now it's pointed out, I can see that.
Yes. Yeah.
And you'd say that is the most important part for you?
I mean, for me, yeah, like some other crocheters would probably say no, but that's everyone.
What would they say?
Some people do, like, again, this is getting into like details, they'd like you chain and then connect to it, and it's a thing, or they just don't even, some people in crochet wouldn't even go near a magic ring anyway, because they're doing other things like blankets. So yeah, it's kind of like magic ring is kind of, I'd say, one of the basic, like the kind of base things for amigurumi.
Which actually, you took the words out of my mouth. Like if you were going to do amigurumi, which is obviously creating characters like these amazing figurines, that's where to begin.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is that what? So is that like the basis to the building block for basically creating what is essentially a sack to hold?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So
the stuffing.
Yeah. So it's just kind of this whole body is like one piece that you kind of start with that and then go in and out and stuff.
So what do you put inside them?
Just like toy stuffing, like polyfill, I think is what it's called.
Does it always have to be that, or could you use like lavender seeds so that you could put it in the microwave?
Yeah. I mean, you could like, put a little baggie in it. But again, like you'd have to have it in like a fabric bag so the beads
I imagine
come
you'd have
out.
to have quite a tight.
I would not test my my crocheting skills with like loose rice or anything because they'd just be poking out probably.
But is that what some people do? Is they use loose rice?
I wouldn't say so.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe, I wouldn't. Just personally.
Just because it was going to come through.
Because you can still, like, I mean, I know it looks quite tight, but I could get like a pin in there and make, the holes are still quite,
Yeah.
Yeah, things could poke out very easily, yeah.
But I think it's very,
but you
very
could
fascinating.
make it if you sewed it into a little sack and put it in there, it could be a little microwave.
That's very awesome. I like that. Obviously, you don't want to put plastic eyes on there and then put that in the microwave.
No, absolutely not. No, you'd do like something like this and sew
I've just seen the little tooth.
Yeah, it's got a little snaggle tooth.
Little snaggle tooth. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cute. So, when does the book release?
It's August 2025.
Oh, so just shy of a year.
I found this.
Hello, Siri. That's not what I asked for. No, thank you very much. You quiet down now. When does the book release?
August 2025. I don't have a precise date, but around that time. So yeah, I don't know when I'm getting my copies, but it's one of those things that I was saying. I've been saying to everyone, I'm kind of not acting too excited about it because it just doesn't feel like it's actually a real thing. So when I have that book in my hands, it'll be very exciting.
So you've just sent off the draft.
Yeah.
Is that like the final draft, or is this?
I hope it's the final draft.
So there's still some backwards and forth for them, like checking it out, and then
we'll see. Yeah, I mean there could be, because essentially they send it off for what do they call it? Technical editing.
Yeah.
So usually with patterns, I do pattern tests where I ask people who are very nice. I basically give them my pattern for free, and they kind of make it and see if there's any problems with it. It's usually just me writing numbers down wrong because that's the whole thing with my math skills. And then they pick
I'll
up
get
on
to
it.
that in a second.
And then I think so. The technical editors, they won't make the thing because obviously it'll take them a while, but they will go through it and make sure the maths is up to scratch.
Yeah.
And I think because I mean sometimes when I'm typing out instructions on how to, I guess, I don't know, like sew the chest together, I will just ramble on and it will make absolutely no sense, and I'll be like, yes, you do this, this, and this, and this, and then someone's like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know. Because
it's the technical terms and stuff.
It's not even technical terms. It's just
being concise.
It's just kind of like you. It's just sometimes it's just very hard to describe what you've done. Because I kind of just do things.
No,
it's really hard to, like, a really weird thing to say, but it's just when you just kind of do it naturally, it's really hard to describe what you've done. Yeah,
when you're naturally talented, it's really, really hard. No, but no, I get it, because like I try and do like videos on like dice making and mold making and stuff, and I'll be like, going, yeah, cool, and like people, I'll forget to watch chat or I'll forget to watch stuff, and then people have to ask me stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, actually that's really important. Yeah. It's like, actually that's you have touched on part of the publication process. What is the publication process? How did it go for you? Because obviously, like at this point, you're only the section where you've handed in drafts, and from there, I imagine people will then go, right, okay, we've now checked it out, we're good to go. Therefore, we'll do the test prints. Test prints are all good. Then we'll put it into production. But up to that point, because we're not at that point yet, what's been the process from obviously being on Etsy and then somebody going, we want you to make a book for us. So what's the process?
I got contacted on Etsy via direct message as I was playing D&D, which was really fun. I basically emailed back because I thought it wasn't real. I was like, oh god, is this fake? Is this spam? But it was real. So she just let me know the process, and it was like, this is the kind of the date that we're looking at. This is the deadline that I had to push, because I was like, you've got in contact with me way too close to the mark, and I've got other stuff that I need to do, but they were very, very kind and gave me an extra couple of weeks, which was really, I was very grateful for. So at that point we had
that's sort of the brief, so that comes in first.
So she was like, this is what I want, are you interested? And I was like, yeah, sounds good. We had a video call just to kind of chat over kind of just more of the details, because it's hard over email. So from that point I did say, I was like, you know what, just because it was quite overwhelming, I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. They gave me like a list of, she basically matched the classes with the species and gave them names, just so I could have like a springboard to really...
So they were like, this is what we want, can you do this?
Yeah. And it was just like, because again, with naming stuff, it's the whole, like, getting better at it the more I play.
Names is hard.
It is. The more I play D&D, the more I'm kind of getting used to not being, like, I guess, like, weirdly embarrassed by names that I choose. It's a really weird thing. So she did all that. So I had, like, a list of things. I was like, okay, so I can then craft these characters around this very basic skeleton of what she's kind of made. I drew out all the designs for them, and I wrote really extensive backstories that they didn't actually ask for, but I was like, no, I've made these characters now, and I'm quite close to them, and I was like, no, I want my, like, I want my narrative to be on this as much as possible, basically. I did that, sent them off, they're really happy with them. They also got a artist who is going to draw them as kind of like a more of an illustrative, because obviously my style is very kind of chunky, and that's like, she's kind of like taken, so the artist Andrea, she's taken like the stylized thing and made it into a more detailed thing, which is really cool.
So have you seen those drawings?
Yeah, they're really cool.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
They're really, really cool. Really, really cool.
Did I made that?
Yeah. It's just really fun to see like my really basic little derpy sketch it's made into this, like, there's the paladin that's just this like really like cool, like, she's just made it into this really awesome like scare. I'm like, it's great.
Yeah.
Like, I can't talk about much yet.
I know that we can't talk too much about it, obviously, again, because it's company IP, but then it's also...
I think they want to kind of, like,
keep
drip
it secret,
feed it a little bit, and but I will say I looked at that, I was like, damn, that's awesome.
But it's cool that, like, it came from, like, what is essentially your derpy sketch to then this version. So they've approached you, you said yes, was there a contract to sign?
Yes, there was a contract.
Cool, so there was actually, it wasn't just like, yeah, okay, we'll do it, you have actually been contracted, you have signed that, you've been... what's that process like?
Signing a contract. Oh, it was like one of those things where I was like, I obviously read through it.
Always read it.
Always read it. Lots of legal jargon, and it was just a lot of just kind of, do the work on time.
Yeah, and that's
Please,
it's deadlines.
Do the work on time. replicate this character and sell it for your own purposes, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is your royalties, this is how much, you know, all that kind of, you know, the financial side.
And that's awesome. So there's going to be royalties coming from the book as well. That's amazing. I hope it does really, really well.
Yeah, me too.
Because that must have been quite daunting to be like, oh my god, I'm actually like being commissioned and I'm now signing the contract.
Yeah.
So contract signed, and then obviously you start coming up with the designs, which obviously is a whole process in itself. Like, how long does it take to come up with like one character? Like, you have this basic like species, class, go.
The actual design didn't take. It took me maybe a day because I kind of got a bit hyper focused on it. I was blasted through, like, I was like, I'm just so into making these characters now. So that didn't take me too long really. And like with the basic sketches, like it didn't take that long. And then I think I took another day on the unnecessary extensive backstories.
Good.
But that was fun. I really wanted to do it. But the actual, so like if making one of the figures took me, I was doing about 2 per week. So that was the making the actual figure, but also taking the process photos for
the book,
the pattern at the same time, and then also writing down the patterns also at the same time. Which, because usually it wouldn't take me that long to make, like just to sit down and make one thing. Like,
how long would that take?
I could probably, like with a chuck, probably that chuck I could probably make in like 2 days if I wasn't
That's
writing.
pretty cool.
If I was doing if I was just crocheting it, if I was doing nothing else, say if I was like testing the pattern and just going for it, that would probably take me 2 days, maybe 3, but probably 2. But with the with this it was like two a week to kind of get them done. But that was like me working pretty much 7 days a week. I think I had like, because I was working like 6 weeks, pretty much.
So 6 weeks worth of like creating these patterns, which is...
It was a lot, probably more actually, because I think because I made the mistake of not actually mapping out my time on a calendar, which everyone should do.
It's actually something that a few publishing friends, so I know that the guys at Midnight Tower, who we recently did some work with, and Ross, who is one of the Band of Badgers, he's also getting into self-publishing, they were all like, you need to set a calendar, you need to then set yourself time, and you go, this is work time, this is play time, this is when your deadline is, and it's something, I find it odd because obviously I work to my own timestamp for stuff that I make, but then for commissions I have like a 4-week turnaround, and that's on like just stuff that I can do, let alone stuff that's like a prototype or a new system where I'm like, okay, now it's an 8-week turnaround because I have to create everything from scratch. But you do have to give yourself a time. One, time for making, but also time for mistakes, time for having to scrap the project and start again. And that's happened to me more times than I care to admit, and it is the most frustrating thing. Does that happen to you? I try my best to avoid it at all costs because I have, my brain just, if I've done something once, I really struggle to do it again because my attention span is like, no, I want to do something new and shiny, thank you. So there was actually a point in this book where there was like I kind of drew the character, and then the artist did an amazing job at kind of embellishing on what I'd done, but I'd already made it. And it was this really time-consuming thing and then I said to the Ali who I'm in contact with, I was like, I might change it if I have time. She's like, don't worry, because I really like how you've done it. But in my head, I was like, oh, it'd be cooler if I did it that way. And then it ended up to the point where I was like, at the end, I was like, I am exhausted. I do not want to rip this thing's head off. And I was like, there's so much that I have to do here, and I don't want to do it. So I just had to be like, it's fine how it is. And usually I would kind of go and change something, but sometimes I'm just like, no. But is that not just because as an artist we are our own biggest critics? Where like you're like, you know what, this is great, but I could probably do that a little bit better. So now I want to start again, which means changing one thing here means changing 4 things here and 8 things here, and going like that. And if you don't mind me asking, because it's something that's coming up, do you struggle with ADHD or anything like that? Because there's a lot of things that are being said here that is triggering things for me that I'm like, where are very few similar things here? It's something I undiagnosed, but I'm pretty, it's something being pointed in that direction and ushed down that road. It's one of those things that the more and more I hear about it, like I think back to my childhood, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. You might want to get checked for that. I was like, this is why I've struggled as a human being for
pretty much
because I think
of my life.
Key things that you just said, and I think that for anybody else who is neurotypical, neurospicy out there, I struggle with dyspraxia. I struggle with I'm on the road to ADHD with PTSD with things. And it is because it's a long way to go. Where once you put a label on it, sometimes it can help. But actually, you said things about like going the burnout and like you've done it once. You're like, I've done that. I've completed it. I never need to look at it again. Next project, and it's something completely vastly different, like cooking or learning to darn socks. And it's like these things that we pick up along the way that you then like. So I get that. I fully understand, and I'm sure loads of people out there will understand when you start something, you then need to finish it, you then go, oh, I could do that better. But if you do, you go down the rabbit hole. But if you don't, you then self-criticize because you're an artist, and then it's a self-perpetuating wheel of self-hate. And it's one of those things, actually, it's worth pointing out not to let that put you off, because it's going to happen. It's any of you who are diagnosed and do struggle with things like that, it is going to happen, and you know that. But for those of you who maybe are starting that trip down that road or aren't in that position yet to fully know or understand, and that happens, then actually it's not just you. It's all of us.
I mean, because this, I will say, as much as it's an amazing thing to have done this book, like there were half of it was probably down to my, and now I've learnt, but like my lack of organisation at the start. But there were so many, I think maybe like 4 points during that 6-week period where I was like, I
don't want to do this.
I was like so close to, like, I literally was I went to Waterstones just to have like a minute to myself, and I was like, well,
no, you didn't. No. Oh, don't do that.
It was like the relaxation, like just the smell of books, and I was like, I just like took a moment to just like breathe out, and I was like, oh, it smells so good, and I was like,
wobble.
I just started crying. I went upstairs to have a coffee and bought a book, and then sat down and was just like, this is nice, and then just started crying.
It is so overwhelming.
That was a low point, but it was like it was almost like a nice low point.
It kind of gives you purpose and direction again.
And it's also taught me on like just how to.
Really.
I have an English master's, like genuinely.
I don't.
It was one of those moments where I was like, right, this is a good thing because this is teaching you to, first of all, plan better. Second of all, stop, take a rest, don't think about it. Because the reason why I got so emotional is because I was sat reading a book on art history with my nice coffee, being like, and not thinking about anything to do with work. And then for about 5 minutes, and then something popped into my head, and I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about work for like 5 minutes. Oh my god.
I fully get it. We've had those moments. I have poured my heart and soul into this platform, and have had those moments. It is unparalleled by other sort of waves of emotion that you don't expect. It is a very strange situation to find yourself in, where you're like that. Why am I crying? I should be really happy. I have a book deal, or I've got like a podcast that's doing really well, and yet I'm sat here feeling very sorry for myself and going, what's wrong? And it's such an emotional journey. And like, do you think that part of that is like when the carrot's been dangled and you're like, you know what? Oh my god, because it is kind of like feeling like you've made it, like you've done, you've achieved the dream, and then you're like, oh god, but it's not fully there yet. I have to actually finish this work. And it's so overwhelming. It's so
really
overwhelming.
I think because I was saying about the first part of it, like designing the characters and doing the backstory, that was so much fun because it was shiny and new, and I was like, oh my god, this is so exciting. Did it so quickly, and then like maybe the first character, I was like, oh my god, this is so exciting, and then when I was like, oh no, I've got to do this 12 more times, and like obviously they're all very different, but it is. By the end I was like, oh my god, if I have to do this pattern and like make 2 legs and connect them and do the whole body and put the head on, I'm gonna actually like go insane. Yeah,
but I get the same thing. Like I will create dice. Like I can put dice in the pressure pot. I can do the resin and the artwork in about half an hour, and I can put on kilos of the stuff at a time, and then I've got to take them out, and then I've got to sand and polish them, and it is the most. That bit for me is the most monotonous bit where I don't want to do it. I don't have the best time, and that's where I make mistakes. So like I can create the best artwork, and then all of a sudden I'm like gently trying to sand it, and with my lack of attention span and also like my dyspraxia for being clumsy, I'm just like, and I lose a number, and I'm like, I have to start this all again. Oh my god. And I fully get it. It's a very emotional journey, but hopefully for you, it's an emotional journey that is now coming to fruition, because like you said, the book comes out in August 2024. Is there rumours of a book 2 already?
but it's not anything to do with D&D or tabletop gaming.
Oh, and I think on that spoiler, we will probably end the interview there, and we'll go for a coffee somewhere and cry our eyes out. If you see a wild Siobhan out there crying in the wild,
give me a hug.
Yeah, I was going to say, give me space.
But I mean,
Give Siobhan a hug.
what mood I'm in, really.
Yeah, no. But we will bring the interview to a close there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and for doing this again.
Yes, thank you.
And I'm pretty sure we covered everything that we covered last time. If not, we got a bit more out of this one, I think.
Yeah. Bit
Please,
of therapy.
I am all for therapy, especially you guys out there. You need it. These are awesome. These are so cool. And can people find these on your Etsy and on your social medias?
They can on Etsy. I need to start our website at some point, but time is a thing.
Either way, I will make sure that links to all of these go into the description below. I'll make sure links to social media go in there. Please go follow Siobhan on all of those platforms. Also, like, subscribe, all of that on here as well for YouTube, because it makes a huge difference to us. The more people we can get involved, the better. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
We will see you all down the line for whichever video comes out next. May those dice gods be ever in your favour. See you next time.